You know these market bags that you can buy at the store for 99 cents? Well, what if you turn them into journals? Journals that are thick and chunky and soft and fun. Join me today and find out how. Hi everyone, it's Michelle, or as you may know me from social media, Tape and Twine. Welcome back to my channel. We all know what these are. These are the recycled material shopping bags that we use at stores. At the register, there's a whole slew of these lined up, and they change with the season. So this is my little template. It took me less than an hour to put together, and I really like it, and I think it has some really great potential. So I just made a little garden notes journal for this year. It's got some pockets where I can put some seed packets and then some papers. I can make some notes and some sketches. It was super easy, super quick, and all the materials I already had. So we're going to do that today. I'm going to make a little bit more of a fancy typical journal now that I've got my template made. So let's dive into it. Okay, I'm going to run through the steps really quickly. First, you're going to curate all your papers, a stack of scrapbook papers and other papers that will fit with the color theme of your bag. It's a great opportunity to use papers that you've been holding on to for a long time that you haven't been able to use for other projects. I'm using note cards and guest checks and vintage papers that I have, lined papers, and of course scrapbook paper. I'm also going to be using some twine and cording that match with the colors. Because there's a pattern on this bag, I want to cut based on saving the part of the pattern I want. If it was just a simple pattern, I could measure it by inches, but I'm trying to work around the birds. So I'm going to draw a line of what I think I want for the cover and making sure that I preserve the birds. I cut off the handles because they're not necessary for this project, and then I cut the bag. At this point, my only goal is to preserve the 2 parrots and the 1 parrot on the front, and perhaps have a parrot on the spine. Again, if you have a boring pattern or a repetitive pattern that doesn't have images, you can just measure the size cover you want. Now we're going to cut the inside of the flap where the bag is, the side of the bag. And this is going to become our flap for the inside of the cover. So now the goal is to fold those 2 cover pieces to highlight the piece of the pattern I want to show and have enough in reserve for the spine. I've measured out the bag so that I have enough for the cover and then a 1-inch reserve on each side of the cover for the spine. I'm going to carefully fold those pieces, and then I am going to lay the 1-inch spine pieces together, one on top of the other. First, I have to cut off that where the handle attached because it's way too thick, and I'm going to be putting eyelets there. So I need to take my scissors and get it underneath the stitching and cut that off. I'm going so quickly, let's review. So I took the bag. Let's put those, I kept the side preserved. I measured, or you can measure, the size cover you want, and then add 1 inch to each side. That's 1 inch becomes the spine. So each side you can have a 5-inch cover plus a 1-inch spine, so 6 inches on each side of the bag. And then once you've cut that out, then you can come in and you can cut the bag in 2. Then you're going to take that bag and you're going to fold it so that you have your 1-inch spine. That 1-inch spine is going to sit on top of the other 1-inch spine, and you're going to glue it in place. So let's do that step now. I'm simply going to take Beacon glue, like a Fabri-Tac or an E3000 or 6000, I forget what that tube is, but you want a nice heavy multi-material glue, not like a like a white glue, and you're going to glue those two spine pieces together, one on top of the other. And then once you do that, you're going to rub that down, make sure that it has it's adhered very well, and then you'll clip it in place to make sure that it dries well. This fabric is really sturdy, but you're going to have a little bit of a seam there, and you just really want to make sure that that is glued well in place. Then after that, I'm going to take some bookbinding tape to reinforce the inside of the spine, and then I'm going to throw it on my sewing machine, and I'm going to put a zigzag stitch on either side of that binding tape. And that's going to make a really sturdy spine. It's going to keep the seams in place. You won't even see them, and it's super subtle. Now, once our spine is completely done, this is what it's going to look like. I have a really great 1-inch spine there, and then I have the two covers that are hinged and ready to be reinforced. I'm going to cut a couple pieces of cardboard that are going to fit inside of those cover pieces, and then I'm going to cover them, or at least the part that shows, in a paper that I'd like. In this case, it's a very plain scrapbook paper. In your case, it might be something that is a little bit more fancy. And you're just going to glue that in place. Each piece of cardboard, you're going to cut that out, just like that. And you're going to place them inside. Glue the cardboard piece in place, and then clip it so that it's got a nice secure adherence. Again, I have a lot more details and I go into the specifics in the long version, but this gives you a real good basic overview of how this project is made. Once this is dry, I'm going to now trim down another piece of scrapbook paper that's going to go on those flaps that are essentially going to be pockets or tuck spots. I trimmed them down a little bit because I feel like they're too big. I trimmed down the scrapbook paper. Now I'm going to glue that on top, and I'm going to give myself a 1/2 inch or 1 inch that goes beyond the material so I can fold it over. And you're going to see me do that in a second. I'm going to glue them on. Then I'm going to take some washi tape, and I'm just going to sort of put a decorative edge on the hinge. Now it's time to fold that scrapbook paper over. This is going to make that flap a little bit more secure and give me a nice clean edge. I'm going to go back to my sewing machine, and I'm going to put some trim on that and sew that pocket together. Now it's time for the eyelets. Pretty straightforward binding I'm doing here. 3 signatures, so I'm going to put in 3 eyelets. I'm going to measure, make sure that the placement is equidistant apart, and then I'm going to come in, punch the holes for the grommets or the eyelets, whatever you prefer to call them. I'll set those grommets in place, and then I'll have a simple no-sew binding, which is what I really love, so I can take papers in and out at will. So now I have a really great spine with my eyelets in place, and I'm going to tie twine through each grommet, and so I have 3 different sets of strings to put those signatures in. It's a very easy way to do a binding, and it's very forgiving as you're working in your journal because you can take papers in and out. Once all of the strings are tied and my binding is in place, it's time to work on making the signatures. I'm simply going to make a template for the cover of the signature and then the size for the inside pages. Once I have those 2 templates created, I will cut all the papers down, stack them, sort them, and make my 3 signatures. Again, you can get more details on this in the longer version. Once my 3 signatures are created, I'm going to slide them into the strings that I have in place, and that's going to give me the bulk of my journal. I'm going to go in, decorate it, and I'll be back, and I'm going to show you what the journal looks like when it's complete and and decorated. It's just really, really cool. It's a chunky monkey, and I'm super happy with it. As you can see, I have lots of goodies put inside. I have charms, beads, tags, pockets. I have some beads and charms from my stash on the outside. On the inside, I have lots of tags and ephemera. You can see the full flip through on my longer version of this video. Any questions you have would be answered in the longer video. You can go there and see all the instructions, all the tips, all the behind the scenes. This just gives you an overview. And as a little extra bonus, I made a pocket for all my ephemera so I can work in this journal with curated papers to come. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope the shortened version is just a concise overview. Check out the longer version if you want more details. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll stop by my channel again for more junk journal ideas made from simple items that you have around the house or that you can buy inexpensively. Take care, and I'll see you really soon. As YouTube does its thing and suggests some videos and links for you, here are some of my parrots in my studio.